What is up, and welcome back, everyone, to the W Sports Podcast. That's right, you're hearing me, Jimothy, because I am finally back from traveling. And Tubby, man, welcome back to the show. You did an incredible job just keeping those podcast listeners well informed. Thanks, man, for jumping in and doing an incredible job with so many episodes.
I appreciate it. It was definitely a learning curve, but hey, we got through it.
Yeah, I was waiting to get the text like, hey, man, I'm good solo. You don't need to come back. That's what I was waiting for.
No, I'm glad you're back.
Yeah, that's perfect. Well, man, thank you again for doing that. It was awesome to just be able to, see on my feed a little bit on YouTube and stuff like that. Just that the show kept rolling. And it was a pretty epic couple of weekends. I'm going to say 2 weekends because that's what it felt like, at least for me. Of being out of the loop of everything else. Like the OU game, ended up watching it, just the highlight reel on YouTube, like 2.5 days after the fact, because that's when I finally was able to do it. But either way, it still worked out, still had sports. It was a lot of fun. So, man, thanks for doing that. But it's going to be a good episode today. It's going to be a good episode.
Oh, yeah. I mean, anytime we get to talk football, and then we got playoff baseball, coming up in the next,
and tomorrow's episode that releases, you do not want to miss that. It has been an exciting time. That's why I'm ripping my Royals today because, gotta rip the Royals. But, yeah, we'll get to more of that. So if you're tuning in hoping to hear some baseball, don't worry. We're going to have that tomorrow, as well as our fantasy football picks, maybe some sleepers, some busts, things like that. You want to be a part of that. Make sure you've already hit subscribe. And if you haven't, maybe you missed that window. You're like, guess what? The window is still open. So you can hit subscribe. And I promise you want to subscribe to the show. Because, Tubby, next week, what are we announcing?
We're announcing the first jersey we will be giving away.
Come on now. And you know what? We got the packaging already ready. So you want to make sure you've subscribed to the show on YouTube. If you have already subscribed, awesome. We'll make sure that you let us know that you're subscribed by DMing us if you haven't already, because we want to make sure that we have a full list of everybody, because sometimes subscriptions are private and people don't know that. So it helps make sure that you're sure. So make sure you subscribe to the show. But we're going to get to it today. Let's get to the college football weekend, some of the major storylines now. Tubby and I, we were talking about, it's not a massive weekend. I mean, our Sooners aren't playing this week. They got a bye week. We don't have the Georgia-Alabama matchup like we did last week. When I look at this weekend, I think the one that stands out as an early game, it's the Missouri A&M game. It is a top 25 matchup. I think you're going to see a kind of an ugly game. Mm-hmm. And I don't know that either of these teams are really as good as they should be, but this is going to prove either Missouri actually is good or Missouri is who we believe they are at this point in the season. That's one of the storylines that I'm looking at. And I'm just really concerned about it.
Yeah, no, I think Missouri should be very worried right now because they have not looked good at all. Really, any games outside of the cupcakes they played early on, any teams that have been somewhat competitive, they have not looked good. And A&M kind of seems like they may have found something with Marcel Reed at quarterback, and that could be a big problem for him because look what Pavia did with Vanderbilt, the running quarterback. Marcel Reed is a running quarterback. Could be problems for that defense.
Yeah, there is. I mean, I think it's a great point. The QB, it's on the road too, so that's always a factor when you play A&M with over 100,000 fans there. It's a really great atmosphere. You look across the board. There's a couple teams I would say who's on the most upset alert for you, Tubby, and then we're gonna get to some other things that some of the big themes as we are in week 6 already of the college football season, but most likely to be on upset alert. Is it Ole Miss at South Carolina? Would you have Iowa on the road against Ohio State? Just because it is Iowa's defense, they are 3-1. I know it's a road game, but that could be a big one. And then the other one, where did it go? I can't see it yet. But those are the
SMU,
main ones. There's one more game.
Or SMU, Louisville.
Okay, that was. Oh, I'd already scrolled past it. Yeah, it's an early morning game. I'd already scrolled past it. Yeah. So, give me the most likely to be upset that you're seeing?
I think it's Ole Miss. South Carolina has played a lot better football than we gave them credit for going into the season. Robbie Ashford, he has played really good coming in. After the starting quarterback got hurt. I'm going to go with one you didn't mention, and I think could be a very interesting game. And it's going to be Tennessee at Arkansas. I'm not the biggest. I'm not huge on Arkansas, but I don't know why. There's something about this game that just kind of makes me step back for a second. And go, maybe Tennessee maybe overlooking them a little bit right now. You already played one of your big early games because their schedule, for the most part, is relatively somewhat easy. You already played one of your big games in Norman against Oklahoma, and your offense didn't look great. I don't know. I think that there's a chance that maybe they can surprise them. Maybe not win, but at least the 13.5 points, I think it's a little high right now.
Yeah. Well, you could. I mean, Arkansas has done well on offense, and so if it does become a shootout, that's when. I mean, you could play in the favor of Arkansas, a team that could roll, at least put up the yards and the points. So I like that one.
Yep.
So here's a big storyline I'm seeing is some disappointment. That's what I'm going to call this, disappointment in the season so far. Going into it, we thought the juggernaut that is Georgia was going to steamroll through the regular season, and it was theirs to lose. And they've lost, but they've also struggled at times. And I wonder, so that's one of them. Oklahoma State, another team, really cannot run the ball. They've already started the season 0-2 in conference play, and now they get to play a stingy West Virginia team who's trying to find that footing and go forward with it. Oklahoma State's only a 3-point favorite. There's a very real chance that they could start 0-3 in Big 12 play. It's just really underperforming with what you want. What was the other? Oh, and the other one was Kansas.
Yeah.
Dude, I don't know if this is on us or us on hindsight looking back and having rose-colored glasses for Jaden Daniels, who was really, really good and effective. And there's just not this effectiveness with him anymore. He's making bad decisions. He's not making good reads. I just seen many disappointing layers. Jackson Arnold, another one.
Yeah.
Holy crap. If there's a guy who reminds me right now so much of Spencer Rattler, and I'm holding on so tight that I don't want to make a mistake, that you don't do anything positive. At least Spencer Rattler's putting the ball in the end zone. We're definitely not seeing that with Arnold. And I will say this. I do think that has a little bit to do with not Jeff Levy. What OU's?
Oh gosh.
OU's OC just completely went out of my mind.
Same here.
Luttrell, Seth Luttrell.
Yeah,
dude. Not disappointed. This is worse than I thought. I don't like the hire. I think it's still bad. And I was listening to an OU podcast on my plane flights. I don't know why it's weird words to come out of my head, but when I look at that one, they said, can you name me a position group on offense that is better now than what it was a year ago on OU's offense? Is there anybody?
No.
So that's how you know there is a coaching problem. If there is not one position group that you could say, well, I mean, they're better. I mean, someone might say after last week that, the tight ends are better. I'd argue the tight ends are just that bad. The bar was so low that you just bring in a couple new faces and it gets a little better. But there's been some teams that have really, really disappointed this year. And I haven't seen the teams on the other end go above the expectations and just be like, this is incredible. What momentum, like last year's Missouri. Like, we're not seeing that. I haven't seen that team.
No, I thought maybe it was going to be Ole Miss. Honestly, I really did. And then you had that, let down that stinker against Kentucky.
Kentucky's pretty stingy, but absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was going to be a closer game, but I really thought Ole Miss would just end up at the end rolling with the, running away with it just because of how well they had played. And they didn't really play anyone early on. And so it was kind of hard to really gauge. But the thing was, they were putting up so many points that you're just kind of like, okay, they should be doing this. And their offense looks like it's moving really well. Well, the offense really, I want to say like the time of possession was like 17 minutes difference in that game where Kentucky had the ball more. But I think that you definitely hit it there because there's a lot of teams that have really just kind of underperformed, and really outside of probably Texas, out in Alabama, there's not really any other teams that are really sticking out to me that I go, they could make be that potential team. Because Oregon early on, they have gotten their footing lately, but early on Oregon was struggling with their offense and their defense. And I mean, it's kind of just a disappointing season, whether it's the lack of maybe high upside quarterbacks is a big problem, or maybe teams are just kind of even themselves out a little bit more throughout college football this year. But
it is, and the playoff is going to make it very wide open for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you get 12 this year, and so one loss doesn't end your season. 2 losses probably doesn't end your season. So it'll definitely be interesting towards the end of the season how things start playing out, especially with some of these teams, like you said, that have kind of disappointed and haven't looked at quite up to what we expected. I mean, I think Virginia Tech is another one we both really saw really highly of.
Yeah,
and man, they've just. I mean, yeah, they probably got gypped in that Miami game, but still, you gave Miami the chance, or you let Miami come back and win that game. So it's just kind of not really as strong as I thought the season was going to be with the way I thought things were going to be spread out.
Yeah. Better storyline when I look at college football landscape right now, Boise State being good again. But the one that I look at this is even better is 2 4-0 teams right now who are 3-0 in conference play already. They both play Notre Dame, so we'll see. And I think Navy has a harder schedule, but Army Navy right now are combined 8-0, and where you've been used to the last couple of years where these teams are 4 wins, 3 wins at the end of the year, or 6 wins, and that Army Navy game. But just imagine those 2 teams maybe with 1 loss each. How much cooler that game could be. In that 1 week, it's just them. And both of them, obviously, triple offense teams, so they can't get behind, but their defenses played very stingy. They played some bad teams. I get that. Yeah. But at the same time, they're winning, and it's cool to see them leading right now in that conference.
Navy has brought a little bit of a different type of offense where they are throwing the ball downfield a little bit more than they typically do. So they're bringing a different aspect to it, not just the triple option, but they go, hey, you kind of have to watch out. We can take our shots downfield. We actually got a quarterback that has a pretty good arm, decent accuracy. So it brings a different aspect to that offense that they haven't had since I can remember.
Yeah, it might as well make that shift. I mean, I like that. So that's just where I'm at right now. I think if we want to do a quick power rankings, if you will, of the season itself, I would probably stick with Georgia, Texas, Alabama. In the top 5, and then I still want to put Oregon there because I believe they should with the leadership of Dylan Gabriel. I think they're going to continue getting the momentum up. And that 5th one it's really up to whoever you. I mean, it's just I don't have a solid 5th option right now outside because I thought it was going to be Ole Miss and it's not.
Yeah.
Maybe it's Miami. I don't know.
Honestly, I don't think it is. I think Miami's good, but I don't think they can compete with anyone outside of the ACC. Any of these stronger teams outside the ACC. Maybe you could throw Ohio State in there. I mean, Howard has looked great. Jeremiah Smith, a true freshman wide receiver. He has asserted himself as the best wide receiver in an absolutely loaded wide receiver room there. But they still haven't really played anyone to kind of gauge how good they are. Yeah, it's kind of you flip a coin and you decide who you want to be the 5th team right now. But I think Alabama and Texas for sure are the top 2 teams. I think Georgia's still there, but the offense has kind of been a little more shaky than we expected, I think. And then their defense really hasn't been as dominant as they typically are.
Yeah. And I just want to throw this out there. We said they're going to struggle for 4. They already have 4 wins. Do you know that team?
Yeah, Colorado.
I mean, I think they have the potential to get a bowl game. Looking at the schedule, the underperforming of Kansas, I think that is a winnable game. Oklahoma State at home, that looks like a winnable game at this point. I mean, this team looks like they could sneak in at least for a bowl.
Yeah, I think I would boost them to 6 wins right now. I looked at their schedule earlier, and I was like, okay, they'll probably lose that one. They'll probably lose that one. Then there's a couple, that were more up in the air where they had a chance at winning. So they're definitely, I think defensive-wise, they're a little bit better than they were last year, which is good.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I know. They're a little bit more engaged on defense. I think that's a huge piece of it. All right. Well, we've already hit the 14-minute mark. We're going to go a little bit of a speed round when it comes to the NFL. Looking at what we have so far, and I think that part of it is any given Sunday, anybody can win. So there's key matchups aren't always the same. I mean, there's always the games that you want to see. Any of them that stick out this week, though, that you're like, man, that's the one I'm going to watch.
I mean, there's a couple of really good ones this weekend. Yeah, the Ravens-Cincinnati game is going to be interesting. Cincinnati gets their first win, and really it's going to start the fight for the North. I mean, you got two teams that have really underperformed for the most part, but I think the biggest game is the Bills-Texans. Who's the team right now potentially to maybe take over the AFC, depending on what happens with the Chiefs wide receivers. If depending on how long Rashid Rice is out for, it's a big hit to that offense, especially with Pacheco being out and Hollywood Brown being out. Your three big offensive weapons outside of Travis Kelce, who hasn't really played great this year.
He said one good game. That's it.
Yeah. Where's the offense going to come from? So these two teams right now could be the teams fighting, to potentially take that number one seed in the Bills. Outside of last week, they have looked really good.
Yeah. I mean, they literally got steamrolled by the Baltimore, who needed it. And, you know what? They finally listened and let Derrick Henry run the ball more than 15 times.
I know, right?
So that was really good. If I'm looking at a matchup this weekend, it's the Cowboys-Steelers, because the Steelers have, I would say, overperformed. Justin Fields, all that stuff. It's a primetime game. But this is still a must-win for Dallas. A 2-3 to start the year would be devastating. They have 2-0 on the road, 0-2 at home. So it's weird, but that's the big game and that I would look at. There's a couple other ones. I think 49ers need to win the game against Arizona. I think it's a very winnable game, but they need this win right now, get in some good rhythms. So if I look at the major storylines right now, it's almost they are who we thought they were. Like the power teams are the power teams. Like it hasn't been a whole lot of shake up. Like you mentioned, the Bills, the Ravens, I think they're going to turn the corner. I think they're going to be okay. Another 2-2. The Jets are a competitively good defense, but not a good team. Like the Chiefs are the Chiefs. I just don't see outside the Commanders.
Yeah,
there isn't a team.
The Vikings 4-0.
Yeah,
I think there is a surprise.
I think that is a surprise. I mean, I definitely didn't have them at 4-0. So we'll agree that's a surprise because Houston, Green Bay, and San Francisco were definitely games we didn't think that they were going to win on paper.
Yeah.
So them and the Commanders, great storyline to start the year. Outside of that, it's injuries for me. Still stupid, massive number of injuries.
Yeah, it's wild how many major injuries have happened already, and we're only in week 5.
Yeah. No one has enough IR spots on their fantasy football team, which we'll get into in the next episode. But, any other key thoughts that you have? I mean, that's just me right now. It's like power teams, and injuries are annoying.
Yeah, no, that's pretty much it. The teams that we thought would be at the top are at the top, maybe outside, like you said, a few. And then the teams that we thought would be at the bottom or middle of the road are right there. So there's not really any big surprises. I think maybe one for me, a team that's kind of maybe underperformed a little bit is the Eagles. They've won a couple games, but that offense, they do have a couple of major injuries with A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith and Lane Johnson, but that defense has not taken that step forward. That defense is absolutely awful. Yeah.
No, I agree. Well, guys, it is great to be back with you all. Thank you again so much for subscribing. And Devin, as always, thank you so much for holding on the fort while I was out. Man, you are crushing it. And we're going to get back to it. So till then, if you haven't already, be sure that you subscribe, download the podcast. Any way you can support the show, we really, really appreciate it. You guys are helping us become the best sports podcast that no one's heard of, right? Is that what we said before?
Yep.
All right. Well, that's it. So till then, we'll see y'all tomorrow.
See ya.
See ya.